Now we go to the prepared questions. This one is for Jerry Carlson. Jerry, you're first. What is your position on high-speed rail as it pertains to Atherton?
Oh boy. High-speed rail has a very flawed business plan. It's the real battle zone right now is in Sacramento, both in the courts and in the state legislature. The $43 billion won't build an entire system. The business plan is flawed. The ridership numbers are flawed. There's apparently it's a question whether a couple of the board members should be sitting on the board right now because of other positions that they have. High-speed rail that's built on the peninsula at all should be underground. My personal feeling is that we ought to concentrate on getting Caltrain more viable and let Caltrain be the carrier along the peninsula and have, if there is a high-speed rail, have it stop in San Jose. I believe that we ought to concentrate on a regional transportation system first and get a good system between the valley and the Bay Area, and same thing in Southern California. And later on, if we tie those two regional systems together with high-speed rail, that might be one way to utilize it.
Thank you. Bill, same question. What's your position on high-speed rail as it pertains to Atherton?
Well, first off, I don't think you can isolate Atherton in any high-speed rail discussions. While we can all agree that there is no benefit to people in Atherton and that the project will significantly affect the environment in which we live by cutting our community in half, taking down a significant number of heritage trees, possibly impacting historical buildings, and making noise pollution that we'll be able to hear for miles. But we have to look at what the situation is outside of Atherton, okay? The solution is outside. As Jerry pointed out, and is on my website and has been my position all along, my platform is to reroute or stop the high-speed rail. What does reroute mean? Well, you could have a bored tunnel, as Jerry pointed out. You could run it up the bay next to 101, run it through the East Bay. All of these have been proposed. Stopping the train could entail stopping it in San Jose with connections to Caltran bullet trains. This would help make Caltran more viable than it is today. But regardless of the solution, we need to get the right people to start listening. We need to go outside of Atherton. Yes, we can follow our lawsuits, but we need to do more. We need to be clear that we're aligned and that we don't want it. We need to make sure that Washington and Sacramento are involved and make the people who hold the purse strings aware that the basis for this project is flawed and it's a waste of funds not only initially, but it will be a drain on us for years to come. As a town and as a region, we need to make sure that we are heard, both vocally and financially. This takes money. I believe my experience in negotiating with federal and state agencies, as well as working with senior elected officials at other locations and appointed officials, would also help the council be more successful in this. Thank you.
Oh, could you hold your applause till the end, please? Thank you very much. Thank you, Bill. Jim, same question. What's your opinion? What's your position on high-speed rail as it pertains to Atherton?
Well, I'm totally opposed to high-speed rail as it's presently being proposed, just like all of the other council members are. And I think there are much bigger problems in the peninsula with high-speed rail. For those of you who have looked at the business plan, the expected revenues at one point, the ridership was greater than all ridership in the United States on trains. So what they've done is they have, exaggerated the ridership by a huge amount, and just to be consistent, they have reduced the forecast costs by just as big an amount. So I think all of California has a big problem with high-speed rail. If it goes through the way it's being proposed, we're all going to pay for it. I mean, they're making suggestions that any investor that invests in high-speed rail is going to get a guaranteed return on his investment, paid for and guaranteed by us. And to me, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Of course, if I was an investor and I could get a guaranteed X% return on my investment with no risk, of course I would. I think that the whole of the high-speed rail thing is totally flawed. Just as Bill says, I think we've got to work with the different towns, but also with Caltrain and the freight services, because they're also involved. And I think there have been some excellent letters relative to the Caltrain situation, where they don't realize that Caltrain is paid for by the counties. And if they start taking money from high-speed rail and the counties don't approve of it, they could easily go bankrupt. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Please hold your applause. Same question, Cary. What's your position on high-speed rail as it pertains to Atherton?
I'm not in favor of the high-speed rail as proposed. The high-speed rail does not have a feasible financial plan. The business plan is flawed, and we do not have the right-of-way easements. So, for the basis of the high-speed rail, I do not support it. But there are other issues here. We still need to keep the lines of communication open. Lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuits shut down our ability to communicate with our local communities, our state communities, and our representatives. We should be lobbying our local people and going after Sacramento and telling them, it's time, put the rubber to the road, prove that you can do this. We don't just want it to go to Bakersfield. It's not a roller coaster. We want it, if it's coming, it's got to come in the right direction and the least amount of impact as possible to communities. Where those communities get affected, if this system does come into play, we need to still be able to mitigate the damages to the surrounding homes. And finally, we need to build this system, if it's coming here, in the United States. We need to stop outsourcing our jobs to every other country. The United States is hurting. We've got jobs. Let's put it here.